What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ask Paul. My name is Paul Abernathy, your host, and welcome to the podcast where we answer all of your questions that are pressing about the National Electrical Code and all things electrically related. Welcome to the podcast. You obviously know that if you have any podcast that you want to hear us do, or you want to get a reply to a topic, or you have a code question of any type, you know what you can do, right? Just go over to paulabernathy.com. And over on paulabernathy.com, it's a very simple portal. You put your name in there, your email address, and you type your question. You click that submit button. And if selected, you'll be featured on an upcoming podcast while I'll answer your question on the air. But I also realize that many people don't want their questions read. And then some questions are not as detailed, so they warrant only an email response back to answer your question. That's all you have to do is just go to the website. Now, if you don't want it featured in a podcast, just let me know if you just want an email. Otherwise, it's your game to be picked for a future podcast so other people can learn and get answers to those pressing questions you might have, whether it's about the code, whether it's about exam prep, or whether it's contracting tips and tricks and things like that. We just finished doing a coffee hour about gas prices and how you're going to have to adjust your pricing or put a fuel charge in or do something, surcharge, in order to compensate for that. And you really do need to do that. So go check that out. That's over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MasterTheNEC. Okay, so go check that out. Now, today's episode, we're going to answer a question that was submitted, and I will do my best to try to give this gentleman, by the name it is a gentleman, I will do my best to try to answer this question. So it says, hey, Paul, I'm a carpenter specializing in finish who last year decided to go out on my own and try to become a general contractor. I've been listening to your podcast almost every day. Last year took your Fast Tracks program. I did not finish, but I still found it a fantastic course for teaching me the basics. I can't get much deeper than the basics, but okay. Because I feel that even though electric is not my field, it is invaluable if I wanted to take this step as a general contractor, that I understand the NEC when I hire electricians. He says, I want to be able to not have to just take their word that the job is correct, but more certifications help me become a better contractor. Absolutely. I was wondering what advice you could have for someone with a residential carpentry background when it comes to hiring electricians and getting electric work finished. I really enjoy the podcast, and I find it calming and productive to listen to every day. Well, thank you for that email. I can tell you I don't get a whole lot of those from people that are carpenters, but I appreciate it. And I can, one of the things I will say is you earn some big props because you're not an electrician. You got into the program. I'm sure it was overwhelming for you, but you were able to pull some things away from it. And anybody out there that's interested in the Fast Tracks program, we have Wednesday night sessions that are included. Now, they aren't part of the Fast Tracks. That's something that I like to do. The Fast Tracks is a standalone thing. But I do use the Wednesday nights to have ability to have some one-on-one with you. So anytime a student wants to come in, again, it's not a requirement. You can pop in and out as you want. You can come and go as you want. But if you do want to join us on Wednesday nights and you're a Fast Track student, we encourage you to do that. And so you could have been come to a Wednesday night session and ask any questions you want. Anything that helps you understand the topic of code and the NEC a little bit better, I'm open for it. I just want to help you learn, and that's the key. And that's why I put the program together. So I'm glad you got some out of it. So giving you some advice when it comes to hiring electricians. The first advice I'll tell you, whether or not you're a homeowner or a contractor or whatnot, when you're looking for your electrical contractor, as much as it may seem awkward to want to see somebody's license and want to see their insurance and all that stuff, I'm going to encourage you, especially as the GC, that you ask for that information. So I want to see a copy of their license. And depending on what state you're in, you might have a state where the company has a license name. I have a master in charge. but not necessarily required to have a journeyman or something on the job site. Now, most states do, but there's some that do not. And so the one thing is you want to feel comfortable with who's doing the work. Now, if they're licensed and they're doing the work and they do something shoddy, then guess what? You have a process that you can venture down in order to possibly have them lose their license if they do something shady, right? Same with the contractor. So what I tell people to do, and general contractors, again, and it sounds like the direction you're going, is to make sure that you actually take a picture of or Xerox copy, whatever, their contractor's license, a copy of their insurance, make sure they're insured, at least at the time they start the work. If they are required to have workers' comp on your project, then get a copy of their workers' comp. Obviously, you can have them issue you as a secondary insured. All these type of things to make you feel as best you can. Now, we cannot gauge the quality of somebody's work without seeing that work. But if you get a copy of the license, you verify that they're licensed, and anybody that works on your job site, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with you demanding that they be licensed. Now, that doesn't mean helpers and apprentices can't help, but I want somebody licensed. So I tell general contractors to write it in their program or write it in their contract that there must be, even if the state requires it or not, that there must be at a minimum a journeyman on site at all times work is being done. Okay? You got to remember, you're hiring them. You can set the rules. Now, if the contractor says, well, I'm not doing that, then maybe you should move on to a different contractor. When my guys were doing the work, all of the people that I had on a project were licensed. Yes, I had apprentices. I had some helpers. But they were working under the tutelage of the journeyman or the master. So that's up to you. And I would, again, and I say this to homeowners too, sometimes people feel weird asking for this stuff. Don't feel weird. Ask to see their license. Ask to see their contractor's license. If they say, well, I'm the owner. Well, let me see your contractor's license. Let me see your electrician's license. All right. Let me see a copy of your insurance. I have all this stuff. When I was a contractor, I kept copies of these with me in my truck so that I could show my customer. It doesn't take anything to make copies of these things because I wanted my customer to feel comfortable that they were hiring what I felt is the best. Now, again, that's just something that you have to do, but that's one of the steps you can do to make you feel comfortable. Other than that, getting additional education like you've done to be able to walk around the job site and look and see whether or not it's secured and supported properly, that the boxes are done right, all those type of things. I think that any general contractor should take a class like our Fast Tracks Black, just so that, again, granted, at some point it's going to get over their head. I get it. But I do believe it's important to get a good understanding of electrical and what you expect from your contractor. But in the event that you don't, I would make sure that whoever you're hiring, again, has a license. That's the only way to protect you. Now, that doesn't mean that all licensed people do great work. That's not what I'm saying, because there's still some shoddy people out there that are licensed. However, you do have inspections that have to take place, and you want to always make sure there's an inspection done. Don't let them say, oh, this doesn't need inspection, this doesn't need it. And don't ever get in a rush as a contractor where you're just so eager to close up a wall. I know you might get behind in the timeline. I know it, but don't be eager. I need to have inspections. That's what you pay for permits for, things like that. Don't try to cut any corners. It's all about protecting yourself, right? So that's the best thing I can tell you about hiring electricians. And the other thing is set your expectations high. Don't expect don't accept things like crooked plates and fingerprints all over, or luminaires that don't look like they're put up right, or gaps or whatever. Don't accept it. Make the electricians do it right. Make them take the pride in their work. And if you know they've all licensed and you verified it and you know they all have an insurance, and you take copies of all that, or you take pictures of it, then you have their license number. You can always file a grievance with the state that holds their license. Remember that. Now, we don't want to do that. I don't want to have to do that. But you can do that to protect yourself. And as long as they know you're doing that, I don't have a problem letting the electrical contractor know that up front. Says, okay, I trust that you'll do a great job, that you'll follow the code, you'll not try to hide anything, but I need a copy of your license. I need a copy of your insurance. If you have workers' comp, I need to be secondary insured. I need to make sure. Now, every state's different, but these are the things that you can do is the best you can do to protect yourself. And if you do have a little bit of extra knowledge when you can walk around the job and look at things, don't be afraid to ask the electrician. If he gets bent out of shape because you're asking them a question, then chances are you got to start to worry a little bit about that contract. I never got bent out of shape when somebody asked a question. I just give them an answer. So at the end of the day, what's wrong with them asking a question? What's wrong with you asking a question about something that doesn't look right? Because you may have a little bit higher level of education than the normal general contractor. You're not an electrician. You're not trying to be, but you're trying to educate yourself. And I think it's a great thing. I really do. I thought about putting together a course for general contractors, the basic electrical and what they can look for telltale signs of a subpar installation and things like that. Now, again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And a lot of people say, as long as it works, I don't have a problem with it. But again, there are little things that you can look at and really determine whether or not you're getting what you paid for, that type of thing. So those are just some tips. Hopefully that helps you out with that and kind of gives you some insight into that. So that was a pretty brief one. So I do have another one that I'll go into for this episode. That way we can kind of round out the episode a little bit. All right. So this question says, I have 25 years experience in the field and I want to get my license. Will the orange package help me get what I need to take the test? Okay, so let me explain, folks out there, so they that might not be familiar with our coloring system when it comes to the Fast Tracks program, for those out there. So I want to kind of make sure we cover that. So the Fast Tracks is a program that I designed. It's a step-by-step process to teach you the code, systematically moving you through certain units within the textbook material, and then supplementing that with additional videos, graphics where necessary in order to hammer home the principles of the program to which whatever one you're doing. So we call it the Fast Track system. It's a federally protected mark that protects our program. Now, the Orange program is a program that actually has 4 courses in it. So the Orange program includes the Black program, which is the basic one for exam prep. Okay, and if you want to learn the NEC at a much higher level and not micro down into the really nitty gritty, that would be the other ones we'll talk about. But if you just want a good understanding of the National Electrical Code, a workable knowledge, and of course, it gives you the broad spectrum for taking an electrical exam, the calculations you need to know, how to navigate the code book and all that kind of stuff. So that's the Black program, and that's the one that we recommend for exam prep as well. The next one is the Red, Fast Tracks Red, that is residential. Okay, so it deals with everything you need to know about residential. It gets deep in the weeds, room by room by room by room, and dissects the National Electrical Code when it comes to residential installations. So when would you use that? If you're transitioning from commercial to residential, it's perfect to get you up to speed. If you got a bunch of people that work for a company and you want to make sure that they're all doing things about the same, they're all following the same practices, trying to keep the quality control where it needs to be, then the residential Red program is perfect for that. And obviously the students, if you're a company and you have more than 10 employees, then we get you in a program where we keep the grades sent to you by all of your students or all of your employees every week. So you'll get a report on how they're doing. So that's kind of what we do from the corporate side. But individuals obviously can join that. It is not a big deal. The next is the Green. That's included in the Orange package. Again, you can get all these individually as well. I'm just trying to answer the question about the Orange package here. So the Fast Tracks Green is commercial. And it really is good for people who want to learn not only the calculations, but also if you're transitioning from where you've been doing a lot of residential work and now you're kind of moving into commercial, it's going to make things a lot easier for you to understand the terminologies, the interaction. And we systematically go through all of the commercial aspects that you are going to encounter. And we'll test you on that to make sure that you're, again, learning the information. Now, the other one that's included in the program is the Fast Tracks Blue. So we covered black, red, green, but the blue. Now, the blue is the industrial program. So it's kind of a mixture of commercial, but adds more of this industrial flavor to it for you industrial electricians and things like that. So that's what that course is about. Especially if you're somebody who's used to commercial, but you're going to start moving more into motors and other things, and the industrial is the one to go. It also covers a lot more in depth of different things that would be more industrial side. But what I will tell folks is when they do order the orange program, I do give them a choice to swap out any one of those four with our purple program or our yellow program. Now, the purple program, it's the Fast Tracks Purple. That's our grounding and bonding. So a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to do the blue industrial. So do me a favor, swap it out and give me the purple. Okay. Well, all you got to do is request that when you order. Any comments, you put comments in there, just make it in the comments or email us directly after you order to let us know. Otherwise, we're going to send you the four. Now, we will tell you if you're interested in all four of those, you do get access to all of those for 2 years. Then once you initially register the orange package, you get access to all of those courses for 2 years. So it's not 2 years, and when you register the individual course, once you register the orange, the package, you get 2 years access to all those courses. Now, if you want to add, you say you want to keep the black, the red, the green, the blue, but now you want to add a purple. Well, we'll also give you a discount code so that you can actually get that at about half price. And we do the same thing for the yellow. Now, I didn't say what the yellow was. The yellow is our Electricity 101. Teaches you things like parallel, series circuits, voltage drops, Ohm's law, Watt's law, three-phase, single-phase, all those nuances, magnetism, all those things that have to do with the basic core fundamentals of electricity. All those questions you wanted to know and you didn't know who to ask. Now, that is a self-paced course. There's no grading in that. That's just a learning objective course, and it's quite a few things in there. Of course, you can always email us if you have any questions during the program, but that is different than the other ones because that is really a self-paced, do it and learn the pieces as you go. So that's why the yellow is available that way. But in the orange, you get at least 4 courses. Now, the question says, he says 25 years of experience in the field and wants to get licensed. So it's, all I can say to that, it's about time. And remember something, that our programs are not to give you any licensing credits. They're not going to qualify for pre-licensing. They're not going to qualify for any classroom time to be able to qualify to sit for your exam. It's not going to qualify for any of that. These programs are knowledge-based programs only. Okay, so if you're preparing for an electrical exam and you already have enough hours in, right? You already have that in, and all you're doing is scheduling and getting ready for your exam, then the Fast Tracks Black is the perfect course for that. If you're already licensed, you already have your license, and you just want to get more proficient in residential and commercial and understand the nuances, then that's when you would go with the red or the green, or if it's an industrial electrician, you're making that switch, then you go with the blue, okay? Or maybe you just want to get a better understanding of grounding and bonding, and maybe all you get is the purple plan. That's totally up to you and how you want to do that. But I don't want anybody to think that these are pre-licensing, that these aren't going to give you any necessary hours of credit, because that's not what they're designed for. These are designed to help enhance your knowledge. That's what they're there for, okay? So in order to get your hours, you need to work for somebody, work as an apprentice, work as a helper. You need to work under the guidance of a master, depending on what state you're in. You need to put in the hours. You might have to go through an apprenticeship program or whatever. But you need to reach out to your state and see what they say your hours are. You can't ask me that question. You need to reach out and see, hey, do I have enough credit? Do I have to sign a work affidavit showing that I have somebody that can verify that I put in the amount of hours? That's something that you need to do with your state individually. Now, every state has a place to do that. Now, on our website, if you go to the main page, that's the very front page. If you're on any of the other pages, just click the home button. But if you go to the main page and scroll to the bottom to our quick links, I give you a link to the different states. And in there will be a link to that state administrator that you can ask those kind of questions and get those answers from them. I can't tell you what qualifies and what doesn't. When I went to school, I had to have a certain number of hours hands-on. The school I went to was for 2 years, and we went 5 days a week, all day long. So I had more than enough hours for my state. When I came to Texas, I had to prove the verification. Well, obviously, because of the requirements for the licensing in Virginia, there was a certain number of hours, which was well more than was required in Texas. So they accepted that hours and, that type of thing. Okay. So again, all those type of processes, again, it really just depends on which state you're in to find out exactly whether or not you qualify or not. But I wanted to make it really clear, our courses are not pre-licensing. They're not going to give you credits. Okay. Now, I will tell you this, the post-licensing courses that we do, the red, the green, the blue, the purple, things like that, they are certificate of completion courses. So you can submit the certificate of completion if you finish the whole program. Then you can submit within your year, or if you're in the 2-year program within the 2 years, then you can submit that to your employer and maybe get a raise or maybe get a bonus or maybe stand out from the crowd or whatnot. But that's not going to count towards anything in your state. Now, you can try, but I'm not making you any guarantees on that. That's not what our goal was with the programs, okay? So I just wanted to throw that out there so that everybody that wonders about it. We have some great programs. Believe it or not, we sell an awful lot of our residential and commercial to companies that have multiple employees, so that they all can be studying and on the same page. And these employers use this to determine who gets raises, bonuses, advancement, who's really dedicated to it, and all those type of things, because we do this all through a console. You log in. We know how many hours you've been in there, where you've been, how much time you've worked in certain units. All that stuff is tracked and monitored. And whoever the administrator is for your company that buys the block of licenses, they're the ones that we're going to share this information upon their request for each individual student. Okay? Because they want to see how you're doing. They want to see what your grades are, how involved you are in it, that type of thing. Okay? So again, many people use it for different reasons, but that is one of the reasons that a lot of people use our programs that way. Okay. All right. Well, hey, that's it for this episode. I don't have really any much. I do have some other Ask Pauls, but I don't want to get long. I know that people don't like the really long episodes. So I just want to, I'll go and end it on that one. And hopefully that gives you some insight into the program, as well as answers the question for the individual that submitted the question. Hopefully I answered that for you. Until next time, folks, stay safe. God bless.